Hi, I'm Gerry Hafer with the Association of Mature American Citizens.
And I'm Jeff Szymanski.
Jeff and I would like to take a little bit of your time today to talk about a very real problem facing America's Social Security system. We want to take a look at exactly what the problem is. We call it the solvency dilemma. Social Security is facing an insolvency problem over the next couple of years, and we'd like to explain what that problem is. We'd like to talk to you about how the problem developed and what's contributing to it, and what we think can and must be done about it. And quickly taking a look at Social Security today, at the end of 2017, Social Security was in pretty good shape, had a trust fund reserve of just under $3 trillion, $2.892 billion. In 2018, just the year we just completed, for the first time in decades, we had a situation where there was more being paid out of Social Security than was coming into it in terms of tax revenue and interest and that kind of thing. So that's the beginning, the tipping point of the solvency issue. And current projections are that by 2034, just 15 years from now, the $3 trillion that I mentioned will be depleted, and there's a real problem coming, and that's what we want to talk to you about.
So if you examine the Social Security problem, this is a direct quote from the trustees. In English, basically, by 2034, and sooner with a deep recession, Social Security will only be able to pay out 79% of current benefits. There's an analogy that would help people understand what's going on here. Social Security is running a deficit right now. Essentially, expenditures are exceeding revenue. That's going to occur every year until 2034. It's being kept afloat right now by using all the past surpluses when more money came in than was being spent. If a couple in their late 50s, early 60s, is enjoying life, going out to eat, has a nice car, then they retire, they generally have to make some adjustments. If they keep on spending at that same rate as if they were working, even though their income is now much lower, eventually they're going to run into an insolvency problem. Social Security is similarly poised to be in a situation like that. That's why we're going to talk about some steps that need to be taken now rather than waiting until 2034 when the problem reaches critical mass. What's causing the problem? People are living longer, and that's certainly a good thing. Hygiene, nutrition, and healthcare is allowing people to live into their mid-80s, which is now current life expectancy. It used to be in the early to mid-60s when Social Security began. And many people, Gerry, live into their 90s or even 100 or longer. So the program was really never set up for people to collect a check for 18, 20, perhaps even 30 or more years.
These additional payments, of course, are compounded by the fact that there are less people working. The workforce today has less people paying into the Social Security system than many years ago. If you think back to the 1940s when Social Security was established, for every person drawing benefits, there were 42 people in the workforce contributing taxes to support their benefits. In the 1950s, that ratio began to drop. It was 16 to 1. For every person drawing benefits, there were 16 people working. And now, today, it's less than 3. It's 2.8 people. So for every Social Security recipient, there are only 2.8 people contributing tax revenue to support that. The baby boom generation, people exiting the workforce is part of the problem. They're not only exiting the workforce, but they're going on to the other side of the equation and beginning to draw benefits. Birth rates are substantially lower than previous generations also. All of that means there's a workforce that is shrinking while the number of people drawing benefits for a longer period of time is increasing. So if you sum this whole thing up, basically, the Social Security Trustees report for the past couple of years, and it was significantly highlighted last year again, are projecting insolvency by 2034, meaning by 2034, there will be 0 trust funds in reserve. And the trust funds, as Jeff mentioned, are what is enabling Social Security to pay current year benefits because of the income coming in being less than the expenses going out. Social Security's cost is projected to exceed total income, including interest, in 2018 for the first time since 1982. Again, that's a quote from the Social Security Trustees report. That's the first time that's happened since 1982. And the bottom line simply is Social Security cannot be sustained under the current model. And by 2034, again, as Jeff mentioned, our promised benefits to all of the seniors drawing Social Security at that point will be reduced by 21%. If Congress does not act. And by 2034 is a conservative estimate. If there are no recessions, If the economy stays on track between now and then, is 2034. But if there's a serious recession, that could be reduced. The end point could come sooner.
The question, of course, becomes, what do we do about this? And Gerry, the experts are pretty clear. The sooner we act, the easier it will be for everybody. Amac's goal is to basically guarantee Social Security for successive generations. We focus on the solvency problem, making it whole for the long term. A lot of people will tell you we have to either raise taxes on workers or cut benefits for current retirees. We try to take a very balanced approach. Our approach does not raise taxes on workers. By gradually over time raising the retirement age and making some modest benefit calculations for the highest income earners, we can actually guarantee Social Security solvency for 75 or more years. And we've asked our members in online polls, do you want to see Social Security preserved for your children and grandchildren? And they do. So the key is to attack this now, this problem, this very real problem, before 2034, when everybody's benefits will be cut across the board. At that point, it's really almost too late to try to fix it. The measures that would have to be taken at that point would be so harsh. Now is the time.
This is, in our vernacular here, this is not a self-correcting problem. Ignoring the problem will not cause it to correct itself. That's just not going to happen. So we've developed a plan that can help Social Security achieve solvency. And some of the key points of the AMAC plan is to implement a setback in the retirement age for new retirees. We would retain the early retirement age of 62 for many reasons. And by 2024, though, we would advocate changing the full retirement age, which is now 66 or 67, depending on when you're born, to age 69. That's a substantial portion of the math behind achieving the solvency. We would also make minor adjustments to benefit calculations, basically designed to keep lower earners' benefits whole and perhaps shave back the benefits a little bit on higher earners, not substantially. The modeling that we've done indicates that the adjustments would be more in the 3, 4, 5% range tops. So it wouldn't be a substantial hit for higher earners, mostly designed to protect lower earners. And we would also, as part of our overall plan, we would implement a guaranteed tiered approach to calculating cost of living adjustments. Cost of living adjustments, as you're probably aware, in the last 11 years, there were 3 years where there were zero COLA adjustments. And that really has a substantial impact on lower earners, families with lower incomes, retirees with lower incomes. So we would plan to implement a guaranteed COLA for all people, again, weighted so that the lower tiers, lower income people would receive a higher COLA than higher income folks.
And I'm going to talk about the Social Security Plus account now, but just to follow up on Gerry, you mentioned raising the retirement age. A lot of people get really excited and sort of angry when they hear about that. They go, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to work longer. We keep the early retirement age at 62, and that's tied in with this next idea. But, I'm in my 40s. I'm going to live statistically into my mid 80s or longer. We've only ever changed the full retirement age one time, and by 2 years in Social Security's 84-year history. So the program really needs to not just be preserved, but modernized. Right. And to that end, one way we modernize Social Security is by adding in a Social Security Plus account. Some key features. This is a voluntary program. This is not the federal government. This is not big government. This is not major regulations. This is a way to allow workers to amass serious wealth by saving on their own, independent of their traditional Social Security benefits, but the ability to really amass wealth over time to account for the fact that benefits may be a little bit less because we have to raise the retirement age over time. And nobody who is currently receiving benefits or very close to receiving benefits is going to have to work longer. This is going to be phased in for younger people, younger than myself. But the Social Security Plus idea is like a Roth IRA plan. There are some exceptions. If the beneficiary dies, it becomes a death benefit. If it becomes disabled, you can access the benefits at that time. Somebody starting out at age 23 just saves $25 a week when their employer kicking in $15. And they increase that by 4% annually in a mix of 80% in sort of stock funds, S&P 500 index type funds, 20% in annuities, conservative investments. They can amass over $1 million by age 65. This is a much better return than Social Security gives you. It's, the history is going to give about a 2% return on your money. This is factoring about 6 to 6.5% combined. which if you look at the stock market over history, has traditionally yielded 10%. If you look at any decade, we're being a little bit more conservative because we don't necessarily think you're going to be able to repeat that performance in the future. But this is, experts have looked at this and said this is very reasonable. And again, you only have to start small, but the key is by starting early. The earlier you start, the magic of compound interest, the power of compound interest will allow people to really amass some wealth.
And one of the features also of the Social Security Plus approach is that it would be income that you would not be eligible to take until you reach age 62. So one of the problem with IRAs today is people tend to withdraw money for one reason or another or take loans against accounts. And the Social Security Plus would avoid that happening. So the balance would continue to grow and you would get the true benefit of the compounding.
That's important.
And that's really the magic, is the compounding. So what we need you to do, first of all, we need you to understand that Social Security cannot be sustained on its current fiscal path. All the numbers show that that is just not going to work. We are continuing to press Congress. Our folks are up there week in and week out, taking our plans from one congressional office to another and increasing awareness of it. And we're trying to get people to understand that we have a viable solution. It's been tested by a number of people. It's been scored. Some of the components have been scored, and we are absolutely certain of its ability to save Social Security for generations to come. We need your help, though, to make Congress listen. And we ask you to contact your congressional representatives and direct them to take a look at the AMAC approach and approve it when it comes up for legislation.
And you can take a look at our Social Security guarantee. It's written in plain English, very simple, at www.amac.us/Social Security, or you can call us at the number on your screen. I'd also direct you to a very important website, which is updated 5 times a week by the AMAC professional staff, socialsecurity.report.org. And we pull daily articles from all across, the web, as well as sometimes our own original content, to keep people up to date on what's going on with Social Security. I know in October, everybody's interested in what's the COLA going to be for next year. That's a real hot time of interest. But the site is updated all year long. So these are 2 websites where you can go to get more information and really learn about Social Security. Again, in plain English, it need not be a difficult concept to understand.
I would just add also, on that Social Security Report website, there is a lot of background information. The trustees' reports that we mentioned earlier are all stored on the website. You can access them there. And there's just a host of information about all the proposals that are underway in Congress to modernize Social Security. It's a very valuable site, loaded with information.
We thank you for joining us and look forward to additional broadcasts like this about various parts of the program. We have an upcoming one on Social Security Plus, and we'll be doing others as time allows. Thank you.
Thank you very much.